Hey Cherry Pie. So something really serious to talk about today. Just something I've never spoken about directly on TikTok, which is child on child sexual assault, because I am a victim of it, and it's just something that you do have to look at in a lot of different ways. It's such a serious conversation, but I'm gonna just jump right in because I am very uncomfortable talking about it, and I feel like this probably is the one thing that I never ever that I would have taken to the grave out of everything that's happened to me. This and maybe one other thing I definitely would take to the grave because I don't want to deal with having that conversation. But also I'm seeing this conversation be had in dangerous ways that will allow the abuse to continue. I'm seeing people make excuses for these allegations that Krishan has made against Tasiki. And the thing is that she's not the only one who has made these allegations against Tasiki. So we do have to take them serious. There does have to be a moment of, okay, I do believe it. I do believe it. Okay, so my problem is with people saying that Tasiki was a child. And I think that's what I want to I don't even think I'll address that first. I think we'll just wrap around to that last. I think what we need to start with is the fact that it is generational trauma of being on the plantation. Child on child sexual assault in black families, creepy uncles, weird aunties, cousins, playing house. All of this stems from, at the end of the day, slavery. They literally had forms where they bred women, where they had to sleep with their own sons. On the plantation, fathers had to sleep with and impregnate their own daughters. And then they had to go to work still. They still had to survive slavery. And that was a great shame, being forced to do something, or else you're going to be unalived. You know what I'm saying? Or they're going to murder your other children. That was a great shame. And so the shame of black people being enslaved and being forced to do these sick things in front of each other, to the point where we develop a lot of secrecy and shame, and we begin to hold each other's secrets. So on the plantation, everybody might know, like, okay, that is James and his mom, Kelly, but we also know that James' sister is really his daughter. Instead of passing that trauma down to the daughter because James was forced to sleep with his mother, we will just keep it a secret. And then if James was to begin to have sick desires, or begin to be eaten up by the guilt, or to think that it was normal because Master always called him in there to sleep with any slave and impregnate them like he's a buck. That's what he do. For James to begin to lose his humanity, because they have James not only sleeping with his own mother, but then they begin to make James sleep with his own daughters. As soon as they have a menstrual cycle, they were putting these little girls and making them sleep with their fathers. As soon as these little boys were able to get in, as soon as these children, 10, 11, 12, 13, as soon as they were able to have a menstrual or get an erection, they would make them sleep with who they already knew could have children, or who they didn't care. And it also was a way to demonize black people and to animalize us, right, make us think and be like we're animals, to take away our humanity, because we are literally being forced to sleep, to rape, to be with our own family members, just for our survival and for the survival of our children, and so that we don't leave them here to be bred, so that we could watch over them and maybe protect them, or hope, like, okay, I had to sleep with my son and my father, maybe you won't have to. So I feel like from this trauma, that is where the secrecy came from, because as this trauma was passed down, these sick habits were repeated. When we got free, these sick habits were repeated, and it was just a secret because it was like, well, Pop did touch Maurice when he was a little boy, but y'all don't know what happened to Pop. So we not gonna blame Pop. We're not gonna throw it in his face. We're gonna keep it a secret. We're gonna keep everything a secret. Okay, so now you have adults who are sick and they're being covered up for, right? Their excuses are being made for them. And so instead of getting them the proper help, there was guilt, there was shame, there was embarrassment, there was all of this. There was parents feeling like they failed because they didn't protect their children from creepy uncles who probably did the same thing to them because they grew up into adulthood and they still allowed certain people around their children. Like, same situation with Krishan and Tasiki, allegedly. But imagine if your older sibling did something to you, but you grow up, you learn to forgive your sibling, right? Because the excuse was made, well, she only did that to me. She was only 12. I was only 7. And maybe our 15-year-old older cousin was playing house with her first, and then she came and played house with us. So you grow up, right? And you allow that sister who did that to you to babysit your child. Now, if that sister, is two ways it'll go. Your sister will either be hyper vigilant to make sure that child on child abuse is not happening in her house, or she buries it deep down and she ignores it and she normalizes it and she lashes out and she's violent. Like, your whole family is violent. Like, that's just how y'all was raised. Y'all find different outlets and bigger trauma. And also think about the violence of the Malone family. A secret like that would be a secret, because even the male victim, one of their cousins who also has launched multiple allegations of assault against Tasiki as children, he said that they would beat his ass. So it was sexual and physical abuse for him. And he claims that Tasiki and the other older cousins would make him do their chores, or for him to do their chores. They would try to pass it off as, okay, pull out your privates and ground on him and put it in their mouth and try to shove it in themselves. And this is sadly, is normal. Kids are going to see it. Kids are going to do it. And if there aren't adults there to put a stop to it, it's going to fucking happen. Like, that's just the reality of it. So you have this trauma consistently being passed down. And then when it gets to the children, it's all of a sudden it's we playing house. From the older kids to the younger kids to everybody, it's like they want to involve them. But it doesn't change the fact of there's a secrecy around it. And when something is secret, when children have to go in private to do something, when children get quiet and everybody, when little kids are in the bathroom and all of a sudden it gets quiet. Kids are never quiet. When they're quiet, what does it mean? They know they're doing something that if they get caught, they will be in trouble. So when we excuse child on child sexual assault, that is why it keeps happening. Yes, that child knew it was wrong. They knew it was wrong, and they repeated it because they wanted a better understanding of it. They wanted someone to be in it with them. They didn't want to be alone experiencing that. And so they introduced other children to it. But it does not change the fact that they knew it was wrong, and they had to coerce and convince this child to do something. And it could be as simple as teaching somebody to put up their middle finger, and they know it's wrong. So they go off to the side and they do it not in front of their mama, but you pull your cousin to the side and you say, this how you middle finger. This is a cuss word. Fuck you. That's how you say fuck you. You say fuck you, but don't say it around your mama. Say it around me. You roll up fake toy cigarettes and go smoke them. You might even go twerk with your older cousins. But when your mama walk in, you know to sit down. When your daddy walk in, you know to sit down, because you will get popped. You will get in trouble for doing these behaviors. So these children know what they are doing. Playing house is not normal. It has never been a normal game. Playing dolls, yes. Playing kitchen, yes. Playing restaurant, yes. Playing family. But playing mommy and daddy has never been a normal game. And when your children are playing quote unquote house, it's because of lazy, neglectful adults who be having sex while their kids be walking around and then be like, oh, it's nothing. I walked in on my parents having sex. No, when your children walk in on you and your partner having sex because you didn't want to lock the door, or because you sharing a 1-bedroom, or because you just a freaky fucking frog who don't give a fuck, when you in there loud moaning, y'all can't book no room, y'all can't get no babysitter, and y'all normalize having sex in front of these kids because y'all are their parents, you're exposing them. And now they think that's a game. And they started off with dolls, but then they say, okay, I want to play mommy and daddy with somebody else's child. And next thing you know, it's happened with me. My brother was like 3, and our little cousin came up to the house. She was like 3, and she was pulling down his pants and trying to hump on him. And my mama walked in and saw it. And my brother was scared. He didn't know what was going on. And she just was doing it because who knows where she saw it. Did she maybe just see her parents doing it? Or one of her older brothers, were they supposed to be watching her and she walked in on them doing it? Who knows where a child this young would know how to pull down, not just even lay on top of, but to pull down pants and reveal themselves and to try to touch private parts. Your child has been exposed. And people will try to ignore it and just be like, oh, well, like, you can't ignore shit like that. That's a big red flag. But the point is that from adults to children, they know better. But once you make excuses for adults and say, oh, well, they were just a kid, it doesn't fucking matter. You are having children, and you need to realize where the root of that problem came from. Where did this abuse start? And why did you think it was normal? And why did you proceed to do it to another child? And how are you going to make sure that it doesn't happen to the children that you are now deciding to have, and the children that you abuse and they're having that are still in your family? Let's see, how old was I? I probably was like 6 or 7 when the first time my cousins wanted to play house. And all the adults were in the living room. And I remember they shut the door. We were supposed to be watching Lion King. It was like 8, 9 of us. I remember they shut the door. They cut off the lights. And everybody got in their bed. And that's when they started talking about, okay, let's play house. Let's play house. And they started signing stuff like, you're going to be the mama. You're going to be the daddy. Y'all going to do this. Y'all need to sit over here because now mommy and daddy. And they start humping and hunching and touching on each other. And I was so scared, because what scared me about it was the fact of, why did y'all have to shut the door and turn off the lights to do this? That's what scared me. Even though I was too young to know what was going on, and even though my cousins were younger than me, the little boys and the little girls who were fast and neglected and or dirty, who we had to go take clothes to, they were seeking love and attention from everybody else, and somehow at some point something happened to them, or they normalized that hunching cousins and doing that is what cousins are supposed to do. I was scared. I ran out the room and I told my mama, I said, I don't know what they're doing, but I don't want to be in the room with them no more. And my mama took us straight home. She went in the room. She scoped the scenery out. I told her they was being grown, and we got the fuck up out of there. Never hung with them again. Another time on my dad's side, I was about 12, and I would go to my granddaddy's house every weekend, and I had a cousin, but it was a step cousin because it was my granddaddy's wife grandson. So we step cousins, but we grew up together. So by the time I'm like 12, my cousin probably like 14 going on 15, and we would always take road trips. Me and my cousin was super close. We loved Yu-Gi-Oh and Pokemon and video games, and so we will always sit back on the third row of the SUV and take these road trips. And I remember I fell asleep, and my cousin had never did this to me before, but he fell asleep on me. Normal kids fall asleep. And I remember my cousin start groping, squeezing, rubbing my booty, and touching my private parts at 12. And this is my cousin. Who knows why randomly he decided he could do this to me. We're not blood cousins, but either way, I'm a little girl. Never went around that cousin again. Never did. Because of incidents that happened even younger than that. When I was probably 8, 9, my dad got married, and once again, I had another step cousin, my dad's wife cousin, and we would have sleepovers, And it would be me, my sister. We had an older stepsister and we had a stepbrother. And so the cousin was like another brother because he was always there. So it was like we had two brothers. And they were only like a year or two older than me and my sister. He will always say how he had a crush on us, yada, yada, yada. And my stepbrother will always be like, bro, like, these are my sisters. Like, our parents are married. Like, leave them alone. My stepbrother will always try to protect us. But I do remember whenever we had, like, little sleepovers, he would try to climb on the top bunk. He would try to do little stuff. And if I didn't have a stepbrother there, that cousin would have tried to do something to me because that was his intent. Every time he came over there, it was his two girls over here who are not related to me by blood, who I can touch on and I could do stuff to. And then let's not even get started on little boys constantly being the victims of sexual assault because y'all see it as a prize and they don't see it as rape, and there's a lot of shame and hype. There are so many grown women allegedly like Tasiki who could date younger men, like Natalie Nunn who could date and prey on younger men and then get them to prey on younger women, because what hurt people, and you can't make excuses for adults. But I'm saying there is a root to the issue. These little boys are not assaulting little girls without some grown woman assaulting them first, okay? Point blank period. Without some grown woman exposing them first. Without some grown man, without daddy having his girlfriends and fucking with the door open. They are not turning and assaulting other children without it being done to them first by an adult. That's the bottom line and the root of the issue. So the biggest thing that happened to me, I think I was like 6, had to be kindergarten, pre-K. And my mom was like back in school and going to work. So we would be with my dad a lot more. And my dad always had a girlfriend. He always had us at different women's house. And it's actually 2 occasions where I was assaulted full-blown sexually by little girls. One girl was the same age as me. So she was only like 6. And my daddy took us to her house. And my sister and her sister would play, and she would take me in the closet and be like, okay, let's play our own game. She would take me in the closet, and it would start off, we would just be playing patty cake. And then she would slowly close the closet door till it was dark. And then she would kiss me. She would full on tongue kiss me, rub on me, touch on my body, try to do all of that. And so that was just a game we played. Every time we went over there, that's what we would do. And one day, my dad came out the room and he opened up the closet door. And when he opened up the closet door, she jumped back from me. Like, she all the way back. And that's when I knew, oh, we're doing something wrong. We're doing something we aren't supposed to do, because why did you react like that? Because we were about to get caught. So that's when I knew that whatever we're doing is bad. And if we were to get caught, that we would have got in trouble. And because she already had me doing it, and it was like our 3rd time making out, touching in the closet, at that point, I felt like if I said something, I was just as bad. I was already guilty. I was already caught up in it. You know what I'm saying? And because I didn't think it was wrong, I just saw it as me and her kissing, me and her being together. But what we were doing, children should not be doing. And the fact that she knew to take me in a dark closet to do it, she taught me that. And I could have went on to do that with other little girls. If we would have never got caught and I would have never learned that was bad, then I probably would have continued to think that was a game until an adult caught me, or until somebody exhibited shame or secrecy around what we were doing. Until that happened, I probably would have went on, made me a new friend, and been on the playground saying, okay, let's play a game, let's kiss. Let's go in this little tunnel in the slide and let's kiss. I would have passed it on to another child who would have passed it on to another child. Another occasion, about the same age, another one of my dad's girlfriends, and this is where it gets into it too, right? Stop leaving y'all kids alone with other people's kids. Stop leaving y'all kids alone with other people's kids. Stop leaving y'all kids alone with other people's kids. Stop leaving y'all kids alone just because it's other kids. So this other time we was at the house, at my dad's girlfriend's house, and she had 2 daughters. And like I say, we would always be split up. My sister would be with one of the daughters. I would be with one. But She had 2 daughters, and I guess they were off playing, but they had us all in one room with like a king size bed, like big sleepover vibes, right? Little girl sleepover vibes. Who wouldn't be excited? I got all these girls to play with. We having a sleepover, right? And I remember it. You remember stuff like this in detail. King size bed, no TV, nothing like that, because it's, it's back in the early 2000s. Everybody ain't got no TV, or it's a TV in one room. But I remember there was a shower. I remember the shower being open to the bedroom. Like, there wasn't a door, it was open. And we shower together. Like, that was just the thing back in the day. Shower all the kids together. I don't know if it was to save money. I don't know what it is, but as kids, we all used to always wash together. I hope y'all still not doing that. Kids should wash alone. So we would take showers together. But before we even got in the shower together, this girl, she wanted to play a game. And the game she wanted to play was tickle fight. So we was doing a tickle fight. So we tickling. Regular tickles, just tickling. And then she kept tickling me in my crotch. And I'm moving it because I'm like, why is she tickling me there? And then she flat out said to me, okay, you need to tickle me here. So I was tickling her there. And then we took a shower together. When we was in the shower together, that's when she flat on began to touch me and have her fingers in my vagina. And then that night, we all in the bed, me and her beside each other. And she put her hands in my pants, and she took my hand and put it in her pants. And she showed me how to move my fingers and do what she liked to feel. Growing up and being an adult, that's like my most shameful experience, because growing up and being an adult, when I think about it, it's not even a shame. It made me want to cry, because I'm like, who was putting their hands on that girl like that? Like, who was taking their hands? Was it a woman? Was it a man touching her like that? And she began to like that feeling. But growing up as an adult and looking back on it is more so like, who took it to those extremes with that girl, to the point where in a matter of one day of us hanging out, that she felt comfortable enough? And how many other little girls did she hang out and be around with? Was she doing it to her sister? And I was just somebody new to do it with. And maybe that's why her sister didn't want to play with her, and her sister wanted to play with my sister, because her older sister was doing type shit like that. So that is a painful memory for me. Because I just cannot help but think, who was touching a child that way, to the point where she came and touched me that way? Like, I just can't. I want to say, the more children you have, like with the Malones, the situation they have of abuse and drugs, of the father beating the mother allegedly, of him dragging her in the woods, of him beating the mother in front of them. If he was beating the mother in front of him, who's to say he wasn't raping the mother in front of them, or raping the mother in the room next to them? 10, 12 fucking kids. The more kids you have, the more they're going to be victim to neglect and abuse from the parents who are overstressed. Michael Jackson, he was abusing all them kids. He abused LaToya. It's either from stressed parents and neglectful, abused mothers who ignore it because they don't want to deal with the abuse anymore. So they let their children take the blunt of it, and they just live that happy image, and they try to disassociate. Or you're going to have all these children, and then people from the outside looking in, the cousins or the other family or strangers, random adults in your neighborhood are like, well, they got 12 fucking kids. I know I could get one. And these kids who not getting no attention at home, they begin to think that is acceptable attention to get, because they not getting no other attention. When they go home, it's screaming, cussing, fussing, beatings, whoopings, them playing parents, right? You got the kids cooking and cleaning, cooking for their siblings, getting their siblings dressed for school. So then when somebody say, let's play house, let's play mommy and daddy, why shouldn't they do all the things that mommy and daddy do if your kids are already having to take care of so many other children? Why shouldn't they do everything that mommy and daddies do? So the next thing is child on child sexual assault. It's adults and people in the community. It's teachers who will see your kid come to school dirty, and see your kid come to school with bruises, and they will take your child under their arm, and they will be the first person to touch on your child. And your child will never speak on it or say anything. That's just a secret. They grow up and they become hypersexual. There is truth to what Krishan is saying. I'm not going to speak on her situation. Zeus Network really isn't the place to have a conversation like that. I think they were wrong, and they put the conversation out to the wrong audience because people are just making excuses. At the end of the day, there has to be ownership. There has to be ownership. Or you can't heal and you can't make the right choices. My ownership is knowing that I have to have my eyes on my daughter at all times. No matter who she playing with, I'm not leaving her alone with nobody. I don't care how alone kids think they be with my child. I follow her foot to foot on the playground. I always got my ear listening to everything she say. I could hear a child say something inappropriate from 3 fucking rooms away. I could hear it. I'm hypervigilant. We're not sharing no baths. I will wash the tub and give every child their own bath. We're not doing all types of games. I'm constantly watching my daughter, and I'm constantly making sure that she doesn't believe in secrets. My daughter is a yapper. All she do is talk, and all she do is tell my business, but I don't do nothing wrong, so what can she tell? I'd rather my daughter be out here telling everybody my car got repossessed, my mommy ain't got no car, than for me to teach her that we should have secrets. We don't have no secrets. My daughter tells me everything. She will tell me if somebody pick her up and spin her in the air, she will come to me and say, Mommy, they picked me up and they held my crotch when they spun me in the air. And I didn't like that. Dead ass, my 4-year-old. And I will have to go check that person and say, hey, I don't mind when you play with my baby, but the way you touched her was inappropriate. She didn't like that. Don't do that no more. You want to pick her up and spin her, pick her up by her armpits. Pick her up appropriately, but don't touch my baby in certain ways. My daughter will tell me, Mommy, I was in the bathroom taking a bath and my auntie came in. And I'll say, well, baby, she didn't mean no harm, but I'm going to talk to her. You know what I'm saying? You deserve your privacy. If you feel like you need privacy and you didn't like when your auntie came in the bathroom, I will go to my sister and I will say, hey, my baby don't want nobody coming in and seeing her while she getting dressed or she naked. I know you don't mean no harm, but I want my baby to know that that is her body. And if she already at this age feels like her body is her body and she don't want people to see it, perfect, great. We're going to stand on that. Because every time somebody violate or cross those boundaries, I'm going to stand on that. I'm going to confront them. I'm going to address it. And I don't care how uncomfortable it make me because I don't want to look at my family members or people like they're perverts or creeps. I don't give a fuck. I'm going to make everybody uncomfortable. Yes, bro, I know you're not a pervert. I know you're not a creep. But my daughter said this, so let's clear it up now because the next time she say it, it's going to be an issue. She might just be a child talking and being dramatic, but that's why as adults, we're going to clear it up. And I'm telling you how she say it made her feel. She say you touched her butt. I don't know if it was a play smack or what, but I'm telling you how it made her feel and how it makes me feel. Period. So I got stuff to do. I actually have to get my daughter. I feel like there's a lot more I want to say about this situation, but this was just from the heart, just a quick little cherry chats. I was going to go into the show and actually try to provide evidence and examples of how that trauma manifests into adulthood and why adults will continue to keep secrets. And as you heal, you feel more comfortable talking about stuff because worse things have happened to me. But, it could take 27, 30 years to deal with what happened to you in that way. But I'm going to go cherry pies. I love y'all. I will be uploading more. I will be uploading more and more and more. Like, life is just, I'm not going to say it. Y'all say I'll always say it. How can I be too busy for y'all? But I love y'all cherry pies, and I will see y'all next time. And I'm going to be so mad if none of my audio was recorded.